Jos Verstappen has joined the investigation rumors that go around Christian Horner in the most unexpected way possible, and it looks like Red Bull will have a lot more to deal with once all this mess settles down. The three-time world champions. The father has a questionable relationship with the team boss, which may have made him do some of the things he's reportedly done against the British guy in order to see him get kicked out from the team. But are these claims true, and if so, what effect do they have on Red Bull's future? Jos Verstappen is reportedly the man who is behind all of these claims, or at least a huge part of them after it. Has been widely known that his relationship with Horner has started to get worse over the years, especially after Monaco 2022, where the two went on to settle their fight in public. Although they are still rumors at this point, and we cannot be putting Horner into more trouble that he's already in. Recent reports state one obvious fact: the source of the media that shared about the investigation case before Red Bull even announced anything to Telegraph was Dutch media. And considering the country that Jos and his son are from, it does make sense as to whether or not Jos has had something to do with a female employee's confidence in taking these things into bigger matters. When reporting about this matter, Motorsport Total said that the three-time world champion Verstappen is very loyal to his close circle of friends and family, and Horner is very likely to be kicked out of that circle after the latest events. Writing, by the way, the fact that the story first leaked in the Netherlands of all places is probably no coincidence. Behind the scenes in Formula One, there are whispers that the personal relationship between Horner and Jos Verstappen is badly damaged, and Verstappen Jr. is considered a loyal person whose loyalties lie mainly with two men, his father and Helmut Marko. Jos would have a clear reason to take down Horner, with the first being that Horner stated multiple times that Red Bull is not a team that revolves around one driver, which in this case is his son, even though he doesn't really have to state that, considering the past 2 seasons that Verstappen had as the most powerful force in Red Bull. But regardless, the Verstappen family has supposedly leaked the information from Red Bull's planned investigation to Dutch and German media in order to create a lot bigger drama and put a lot more pressure on Horner to quit, something that, if proven to be true, could have a huge impact on the British guy's career, considering that he's already been advised from the internal structures of the team to quit and step down from his role ahead of the car launch in the pre-season testing. And sources close to Verstappen's family say that, although their relationship was very close during the rise of the Dutch guy in the Red Bull ranks, once the first championship was won in 2021, it started to shift in a more negative direction. Horner's experience seems to have been quite something to handle from Max and his father, who reportedly believed that the team should always be focused towards one more superior driver, whereas Horner always left the door open for competition. That is, if somebody stronger than Verstappen rises through the ranks of Red Bull and challenges him in the near future. To say that Jos stands behind this investigation is definitely a far-fetched idea without enough proof, and we do stay neutral in reporting about this very sensitive matter to you. We're just stating the fact that the first media that reported about it was from the Netherlands, and Jos's relationship with Horner has gone extremely bad in the past couple of years. There's a lot of proof for the latter one. Just look at how close they were celebrating Max's wins, and then you have the Monaco win of Perez in 2022 and Red Bull's strategy choice that didn't favor Verstappen, although he was in the middle of a championship fight back then with Leclerc. The statements that have been made by Jos after the race have definitely raised some eyebrows, saying that he didn't agree with Red Bull's strategy as they hurt his son, the championship leader, by favoring his teammate. Horner, however, responded very quickly by saying that no driver is greater than the team's joint success, and the fact that the team took the race win after starting P3 and P4 in Monaco speaks volumes about how good they are at taking advantage of the other team's mistakes. And another very strong point that could have been made is a relationship that Verstappen has with Helmut Marko. Obviously, one of Marko's main jobs in Red Bull is finding talent and training them for a potential Red Bull seat, and although Verstappen had everything he needed in himself, he didn't have an F1 seat, something that Marko took care of by recruiting him at Toro Rosso. Many would make the argument that Verstappen would have been hired by Mercedes, but we must remember that this is a time in which the Silver Arrows were the most powerful team on the grid, and next to Hamilton, who knows whether Verstappen would have reached his full potential in the same machinery. It was already known that Horner and Marko had gone into a battle regarding the power shift in Red Bull's management after the passing of Dietrich Mateschitz, which is why there were lots of reports that Marko would lose his position in the team after the comments he made towards Perez's performance. The media and the fans believed that this was fueled by Horner, who wanted a bigger stake in the team and bigger power backed by the man who owns 51% of the team, Chalamuvitia. However, the Austrian side did not back down, and considering the fact that the complaint was made directly at Red Bull's headquarters in their home country, many assume that this is the counterattack of Marko, who personally said that he doesn't want to comment on the entire thing until it's all said and done. So it would be easy to see which side the Verstappen family takes if this situation was a battle between Horner and Marko amid the power shift in Red Bull. Be that as it may, there is an entire investigation going on about Horner's controlling your behavior over an unhappy female employee and with Red Bull having a lot on their plate in order to continue with everything in order in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a very sensitive and tricky period for every side involved. This can definitely take away the focus from what is most important, continuing with a strong pace and making sure that they will stay on top until 2026, and the fact that high-profile members of Red Bull like Pierre Warch and Adrian Newey have been tipped to leave Red Bull amid the chaos doesn't help the situation either. Red Bull has already expressed fears about the 2024 season by saying that the dominance of the previous season has caught them by surprise, as well as they didn't expect that the rest of the grid would be so unpredictable and so problematic in understanding the principles of the ground effect technical era for the second consecutive season. However, Newey has pointed out the fact that all of the teams that had the opportunity to look at a dominant car in detail throughout the 2023 season, so we should be expecting a lot more challenges to look exactly like the RB19. Not only that, but the British engineer has also stated that he is not sure whether the third evolution of the RB18, which is now the RB20, would live up to its standard, because after allowing so much data to their rivals and being so far ahead for the entire year, there is no possible way to assume the development that rivals would have made over the winter. This is definitely not good for Red Bull from many perspectives. Not only will their attention be divided on the race weekends as well as the investigation with Horner, one that is supposed to last even after the Bahrain Grand Prix, but if they have fierce competition from day one from teams like McLaren, Ferrari or Mercedes, they might not have the full potential to complete a comeback throughout the season. After all, if the worst came to light and Horner was to be found guilty of the allegations, then Red Bull wouldn't have the leader that helped them to win 13 combined championships in the past 19 years, and even though the rumored replacement is to be the current sporting director Jonathan Wheatley, this shakeup will have a massive effect on how the future turns out in Red Bull. Shaken environment is definitely not what Red Bull drivers want to have on their hands, and on the other hand, if Horner is to be found innocent and somehow Jos is confirmed to be involved in all of these allegations, then it's safe to say that the relationship between Max and Horner will take another downgrade level. Paradoxically enough, the fact that Hamilton moved to Ferrari made Mercedes to think that they would be able to land Verstappen if they had the right offer for him, which would be a championship-winning car and a proper salary, with the first one being the bigger challenge than the latter one. Even Wolff himself said the Dutch guy is not off the radar when it comes to who would replace the 7-time world champion, and while it's bizarre enough, there might be an opportunity for Verstappen to continue what he started in Red Bull, with Mercedes proving that versatility and adaptation are not something he's lacking on his resume. All of this, as of now, is just plain rumors and analysis of what could happen if the investigation turns one way or the other. But with the 2026 regulations being tipped to favor Mercedes and Ferrari much more than the rest of the grid due to their knowledge of engine building, buying Verstappen out of his contract is definitely something Mercedes should be pursuing in the upcoming seasons. With this in mind, what do you think about the relationship between Jos and Horner? And more importantly, do you think that Jos has something to do with the allegation case against the Brit?